Broadcasting live from the Business Radio X studios in Atlanta, Georgia, it's time for Atlanta Business Radio, spotlighting the city's best businesses and the people who lead them.
Good morning. This is Sanjay Ture, and welcome back to another episode of Tuesdays with Corey with our host, Corey Rick. Who do we have in the station today?
Well, Sanjay, we have Christina Roods, who is the designated agency principal of Brightway Insurance out of Marietta. Christina, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, Christina, you have a great deal of experience dealing with people and helping them from a customer service perspective. Tell the listenership how you ended up becoming an owner of Brightway Insurance, and sort of what the steps were for you to get to that point.
Great. I'd love to tell you that story. So, yes, I have years of experience taking care of people, customer service-wise. It actually started, believe it or not, when I was 18. I had a job at SeaWorld, and I worked in what was then the Japanese Village with the divers and everything, if anybody's familiar with that. Mostly retail, help people pick out jewelry and things like that. And then when I went to school at San Diego State, I got a job in the laboratory and I started taking care of patients. And it was started as simply as greeting them when they came in, made them comfortable, got them prepared. So,
what kind of laboratory?
It was a medical laboratory in a hospital. When you have to go get your levels checked for physicals, or if you have a health issue that you're monitoring. So I learned a lot about how to take care of people where they are in that space. So, that led to another job, and one day I found myself doing a lot of customer service in a call center. Translated into a sales role, and from there, it just really took off. You just learned a lot about the different types of people, and honestly, you have to meet them where they are and take care of what they need.
So you've mentioned this. You made the comment of taking care of people where they are. Is there any translation of your experience there into what you're currently doing at Brightway?
Yes, absolutely. So Brightway is it's a franchise. We have the Brightway, the Fitzpatrick Agency. Our office is located in Marietta, and essentially we help customers get the very best coverage for their needs. Not everybody fits into a box, and so in order to help people where they are, we really need to know who they are and what they need.
Oh, that's really important. So it sounds like you take a good bit of time with people to kind of understand if you can help them, and if so, what the steps are.
Right.
I think the personalized service is really important. It's something certainly that I look for when I'm looking for something.
Right.
It's important to get your questions answered, and somebody that gets their questions answered is in a much better position to figure out, hey, do we need these services or some derivative of that?
Yes, absolutely. So, I'm a big fan of saying not one size does not fit all. And nowadays, people expect a choice,
yes.
And it's not just a yes or no. I need this or I want this. It's, do I need this specific thing, this specific brand? And you talk about helping people where they are, and it's really about understanding who they are and where they are. And you can't make any assumptions. You really have to sit down, have a conversation, if possible, look them in the face, or at least talk to them on the phone to understand where they're at.
How did you decide to get into the insurance industry?
Well, so in Southern California, I spent a great many years working with customers, patients, doctors, office managers.
You grew up there, right?
I did.
And you left?
Yes, willingly. I left willingly. I willingly left San Diego to move across country.
Well, I've heard that that's a great place. I've not been. Anyway, back to the question: how did you decide to start helping people with insurance?
Well, honestly, as happy as I was in Southern California, and I had a great job. I had a great setup, village-wise. I had friends and family and everything. And one day I just realized I was burnt out. I was burnt out on doing what I had been doing for many years.
How did you get there? How did you determine that you were burnt out?
Well, I have 2 young kids. They are now
Okay, dumb question.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm not really sure what clicked. I just realized that I didn't feel like I was making a difference, and I wanted to wake up every day and be excited or be passionate about what I was going to be doing. I wanted to get up every day and say, I get to do this. And what I found out was I was feeling more like, I have to do this, and there was nothing wrong. There was
That's
nothing
a big
wrong.
difference.
There is a big difference. And when you realize that a lot of people, you go on social media and you see all these memes about, oh, Monday, there's nothing worse than finding out, nothing ruins a Friday more than finding out it's only Tuesday. And it's like, no, we should be excited every day to wake up.
Well, I think, knowing you for the time that I have, you seem highly engaged in your life. And I think that I feel the same way that you do about memes that you get on, Tuesday saying, oh, I thought it was Friday, but it's only Tuesday. I mean, I enjoy every day for whatever it's worth, because at some point, one of these days is going to be your last one.
Right.
And I wouldn't want to have wasted the day, wishing it was some other day.
Correct. Absolutely. So, when I realized that that's what I was feeling, and I was trying to make small changes to see if it would actually make a difference. And I was looking, on the one side, I was saying, hey, do what you love. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Keep trying, try new things, do things that you're not normally doing. And then I would look in the mirror. I said, wow, I've been doing this for 25 years. So I'm saying one thing, but I'm not actually trying it myself.
When did you come to that realization?
Probably 2016, end of 2016, beginning of 2017.
Was there a series of events, or was there a sort of a jumping off point where you realized, okay, hey, I'm at this sort of impasse?
Yes. There were some life changes going on in my life. And again, it was, you read a lot of books, you see a lot of things happening. I was watching people take big, giant leaps and struggling for a little while, and then coming out the other side, and everything was good. And they just seemed different in a good, positive way. And
how so?
They seemed excited about what they were doing. And even if they were trying something and it wasn't exactly what they thought it was, other good things happened. And again, it was one of those things where I would read a lot and I would say, change is good, but then I wouldn't do anything to change. And even a small change was better than where I was at, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it absolutely does. I think that it sounds like you had a lot of very, very good experience learning how to deal with people. You're obviously very, very outgoing, very good with people. And did that help you to do what you're doing now? Absolutely.
I say this and it sounds a little bit simplistic, but I genuinely like people for who they are.
I get that loud and clear.
Yeah. Even if they're not people like me. So, when you do certain things, you want to be around like-minded people. You want to be around people who do things the same way you do or think the same way you do. But I find that I actually learn more and grow more when I'm with people who are not like me, who are either completely opposite of me or, just fundamentally something's just a little bit different. I'm intrigued because for the most part, I honestly believe that people are genuinely good. They genuinely want to do the right thing. They just have different ways of doing it.
I think you have to believe that. Otherwise, you're going to be frustrated. Absolutely.
And when I meet people, I always assume the best and I think the best, and I'm rarely disappointed. Which is I think an awesome thing to be able to say, and to believe. Of course, I've met a few people along the way that maybe that's not true, but
well, I think if you're out meeting enough people, eventually that's going to happen. It doesn't have to be anything other than, here's a person, we don't exactly share the same beliefs. It doesn't make me right and them wrong. It is.
Correct.
And you decide how to spend your time accordingly.
Correct. And I find that couple years ago, you talk about what are the things that made you get here. I had ideas of what I expected my life to be. I expected to get up, grow up, finish college, get married, have 2.5 kids, maybe drive a Volvo. And
so you're short 0.5 of a kid.
I'm short 0.5 of a kid. I have actually a dog. I don't know if he counts as 0.5. He's actually bigger than both my kids, so he might be.
What kind of dog?
He's a chocolate lab. He is a.
So he must like the hot lunch program at the Roods residence.
Yes, he's always scooping them off the table whenever I put it out. So,
well, those are great dogs. Really, a great disposition.
Oh, he is the sweetest dog.
Yeah. What's his name?
His name is Rocky Roods Fitzpatrick. So, we adopted him. He's 2 years old and every bit of puppy still left in him. He's really good with
How
kids.
much does he weigh?
Believe it or not, he weighs 110 pounds.
He doesn't go by any food that he doesn't like if he weighs 110 pounds.
Yeah. He's just a big dog. It's funny. I'll put food in his bowl and he'll eat it when he's ready. He's not a scarfer by any stretch. I call him a mindful eater. He knows when he's hungry and he eats. He's just big.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's great. Great dogs, and I think that we can learn a lot from them and how joyful they are and how much they really like people. And I think that just love the labs. They're really good little dogs.
Yes.
Well,
absolutely.
your dog's not little, but
no, he's not.
So growing up in Southern California, what was that like?
72 and sunny most days.
Yeah, thanks for that. Because I grew up in Minnesota where it was below zero. It seemed like 9 months out of the year. But I've heard great things about the San Diego area. I've not been, but so what activities were you in, and kind of how did what activities did you participate in high school and college and so on?
So believe it or not, life in San Diego is not all that different than life in Atlanta in certain aspects. So
minus the humidity
and the bugs, and believe it or not, the traffic. The traffic, though there is a lot of traffic in Southern California, it's different. I don't know exactly how it's.
What does
different.
that mean?
Well, here, traffic. You have to plan like 2 hours. It takes 2 hours sometimes to get places. And where I'm from in Southern California, an hour commute is too long. So that would be the key difference. But, aside from that, in San Diego, I did run. We biked both on the road and on the trails.
Do you bike here?
I haven't yet.
Is there a reason?
I'm afraid to ride my road bike on the road here, only because I don't see a whole lot of bike lanes yet out by where I live.
That's because there aren't any.
Okay. Okay, good. I didn't miss them. But mountain biking, there's a lot of opportunity for me to do that out there. And actually, now that both of my kids are mountain biking, I do plan on mountain biking out here. And I do run out here. And in Southern California, in high school, I did marching band.
What did you play?
Flute and clarinet. So I did that for a couple seasons. Honestly, in high school, I wasn't as involved as I think I would be now. If I was the person I was now, I would be way more involved than I was the person I was back then.
Why don't you think you weren't as involved as what you're thinking you would be now if you had this mindset?
Honestly, I didn't really understand all that was available to me. And, that's just from not knowing, yearbook committee and, we didn't have 4-H club out there, but we had something similar. All the high school sports and, drama club and all the extracurricular activity, I just didn't know that it was there. I say that now because I'm well aware of all the different programs that are available. So I could see myself being more involved.
Well, in hindsight is 2020.
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't think any of us are the person we were, 20, 30, 40 years ago. Right. And we have the benefit of knowing what we know now and how we might do things differently.
Right.
And I think the reflection is important, but I don't spend that much time on it personally.
Right.
Not much I can do about it.
Well, and the other thing too is, like I said, I went back to, I was telling my kids all of these things that they would, could, should, need to do, and I wasn't doing it. But I found different ways to get involved in the community now that I feel like if I had started doing them in high school, I could have maybe done a little bit more where I was. But, you got to accept where you are now and what you can do now.
Well, you seem very athletic.
Yeah.
And you like sports.
I love sports.
Is there one sport that you like better than another?
Well, I love baseball. I do root for the Braves, except for when the Padres are in town.
Are they a baseball team?
Yes. We're actually pretty good this year. And I love football. I love to watch football.
College, NFL, either?
I started with NFL because in Southern California, that's really what was more prevalent. But moving here and recognizing that SEC is a thing,
they play football in the SEC?
San Diego State? No. But I mean,
there's football in the SEC, the Southeastern Conference?
Yes.
This just in?
Yes, newsflash, SEC, college football. And that's actually kind of a funny story, too. So when I landed here in Atlanta, and I was warned, I was forewarned, SEC football is big down here. Yeah, college football is huge. So,
It is, yes.
I learned that you can wear red, and if it's the wrong shade of red, it could start a conversation. So I do enjoy watching a good college football game.
Well, there's no shortage of that here with, certainly Alabama and Georgia, Clemson. I know Clemson's not in the SEC, but the college football here is in the Southeast is extremely extremely high caliber.
Yes.
All kidding aside.
Yeah, no. And like I said, I love it. And what I love about the atmosphere is, people are just genuinely engaged with their team. They know all of the stats. They know the players. They know where they came from. They know what high school they came from. And, the coaches. The coaches are almost movie star status. Well,
I'd say they are.
Yeah.
I'm very impressed with. I'm a Nick Saban fan.
Mm-hmm.
Went to the University of Iowa. I'm a Big Ten fan, but and they play very good football there. I think the SEC football is of extreme high caliber, but I do appreciate sort of being from the old school how Nick Saban does things. Mm-hmm. He's very disciplined. Everybody has a job. Everybody has to do it, and I think probably Kirby Smart, probably because he used to coach with Coach Saban, probably does some of the same things, but. There's a reason why those guys are so successful.
Absolutely.
They work very, very hard, and they get great players. Both of those programs get great players.
Yeah, you talk about Nick Saban and being very, very disciplined, and everybody has a role in. There's a program, there's a process, and he teaches that, and then he works with his players to get them engaged and plugged in, and I think that's a lot of where the success comes from.
Well, I don't think either one of those guys is struggles with delivering the bad news either.
Right.
I think that they are where they are for a reason, and they're extremely disciplined. They do attract talent. They do coach them up when they get them, and so it's interesting to me to watch those two programs in particularly because Kirby used to coach on, Nick Saban's staff, and now they're, it's sort of the pupil that's, taking on the teacher, and that's certainly a story in and of itself. But there's 4 or 5 really strong SEC teams. It seems like every year in the top 15 or 20 teams, and it certainly creates incredible competition there.
Yeah, I do enjoy it. I do enjoy going into the shops and seeing, the Alabama, the Crimson Tide, the Georgia Bulldogs, and just it's definitely a culture down here, the SEC.
What have you learned from watching sports, running, biking that you apply into what you're doing now?
I love that question. So what I've learned is that small changes every day. The art of practicing. I know it was in one of those movies, but that's why you play the game. Is on any given Sunday, anybody can win. And what I've really learned from watching these sports is, everybody has their gift. Everybody has their talent. And when we work as a team to maximize, to highlight that talent, great things happen. Everybody has a role. Everybody participates. Everybody has a job, and great things happen from that.
Well, I think on any team, you have you have players that are the most prepared. You have players that are the most talented. You have players that are disciplined, and then you have players that are unselfish. And it's rare. Sometimes you have players that have all of those attributes. And I think that those things are important in being part of any team and knowing your role.
Right.
We like to deliver the quote of, hey, making sure you've got the right people in the right seats.
Yes.
And everybody knowing what they're supposed to do. And
Right.
that isn't as easy as sometimes it's made out to be.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I really love about baseball is that baseball is a team sport that everybody gets a chance to be spotlighted when they're at bat, right? So when you're at bat, there's only one man at the plate swinging the bat. But then when you're in the field, you play as a team, and so you're responsible for, getting the 3 outs, and again, there's just this, if you got to get a man on base or you got to get the man over, there's sacrifices, sacrifice bunts and sacrifice hits and things like that. Anything you need to do to make to score, essentially. So that's one of the things I love about baseball is you can equally be counted as a team, but you also have your opportunity to shine. And I guess that's true in all sports. But with baseball, it just seems a little bit more defined. Does that make sense?
It does. I think that there are certainly lessons to be learned playing a team sport. And the lessons sometimes can be different, in my opinion, if you're competing in an individual sport like track or golf or swimming or wrestling. I think that a lot of those concepts are the same, but if you're out there, if you're a boxer, mm-hmm. no one else is going to keep you from getting hit except you.
Right.
In the training and all the things that you did prior to getting into the ring certainly have an impact on how well you perform. But I think that there are lessons, in my experience, that can be learned from being on a team as well as being in an individual sport.
Right. And a lot of times the conditioning that a player will go through in order to be the best, to do his or her job the best, has something to do with their individual conditioning, whether it's running or swimming or biking. So all of that contributes to making that individual stronger so that he or she can make his or her team stronger.
You said something that resonates with me because I believe this fully. There are things that you have to do every day.
Yes.
In your relationships, personal or business, or in your business, and you may not like them, but you must do them. Otherwise, at some point, it ends up biting you.
Right.
Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And putting them into a ritual, something short. There are 3 things that you do. First thing, you get up in the morning, and there are a couple things you do to start your day. And then before your work day ends, there's a couple things that you do to sort of bring it down and prepare for the next day. Absolutely. There are, yes.
I think it's really, if you're going to run a race and, like a marathon or a half marathon, there's a training schedule you have to follow. There's cross training, and there are things that you have to do in what is normally a 4-month lead up
right.
to the race to perform optimally. And I think the same is true in business.
Yes, absolutely. And right now I have a very good friend who's training for an Ironman. And so that's the whole run, bike, and swim. And I said, hey, I'll help you out with the run. As I get a little bit better on the bike, I'll help you on the bike. And if I ever get in the water, I'll help you with the swim. But helping, just plugging into that and being accountable to helping somebody else has helped me in so many ways. First of all, it keeps me on a schedule to do those things. And it's actually given me something to reach for, which is to swim. But the same thing with business.
Do you find, do you exercise before or after work?
I prefer to do it first thing in the morning for two reasons. One, it gets it out of the way. I can check that box and move on. And frankly, it gives me the energy I need, the motivation, clears my head, and sets the table for all the other things I need to get done that day.
Do you find that exercising before work helps you process things?
Yes, because it gives me time to think. I get up, I literally put my clothes right next to my bed, so there's no way around it. I put my workout clothes on first. I put my running shoes on, and then I go downstairs. I drink water. I open the door so that fresh air comes in, and I have no choice. I have no choice to go out that door and
what time is this that you do this?
Usually 5:30 in the morning, because I got to get back and drive the mom bus and get to work.
Yeah. I found, too, that it's effective to do it in the morning simply because it's a great lead into the day. I find that it provides a great forum to process things, good, bad, and indifferent. And sometimes when you're running your own company, there can be high points, there can be low points and medium points. And I think that to whatever extent you can, a business owner or an executive or a professional has to have that regeneration. They have to have that self resetting button, if you will, and for that really helps me.
Absolutely. And do you find, because I think you work out in the morning as well, do you
I
find
do.
that it kind of sets the tone for your day?
It does. I like it. I think that things don't seem. There's a lot of things that you have to do every day, and they don't seem as difficult, I think, on days that I make sure I go to the gym. But that's just me personally. Plus, I think it helps me process things.
Yes, I would agree with that. And I try to mix it up a little bit. So I will set myself mini challenges. So for 2019, I have decided that every 30 days I was going to do one thing for 30 days in a row and then switch it up. So in January, I set a goal to run 5K a day. And I did it. I did it as in a combination of on the treadmill, outside. Started in the beginning doing it whenever I felt like it. But, by day 10, I started doing it first thing in the morning. And I found that I got a lot of things done. I got a lot of things done in January. So it really helps. Now, my stretch goal, and I'm saying this in front of a lot of people right now, so I got to make it happen. So my stretch goal is for June to get in the pool every single day and swim. For people who know me, know that that's really, really difficult. But again, you got to set those goals. You've got to, not be afraid to try something new.
Well, I think it was wasn't Eleanor Roosevelt that said you should do something every day that scares you?
Yes.
I think it was her.
Yeah. Sounds like an Eleanor Roosevelt. It sounds like her. Well,
there's something about conquering something that you may have some trepidation about and doing it, and maybe surprising yourself and maybe that muscle, right? Because if you encounter something else that you may have some trepidation on or some hesitation, you can recall something else that you had similar feelings about and realize, hey, I was able to overcome that. I was able to succeed in that. And, you go back to those thoughts and it helps you with the next thing.
Absolutely. In fact, now that you say that, there are 3 or 4 things that I had been incredibly afraid to do. And once I made it a priority on my list to do that first thing in the morning, about 75% of the time I found out that what I was afraid of was
made up.
Yes, it was a big lie. I had no need to feel afraid of that. So when I now...
That's true, by the way.
It is true. And for me, it was about 75-80% of the time, my fear of it was way worse than the actual outcome. And then in the remaining 20% that, maybe it was as bad as I thought, I found that once you buckled down and just dealt with it or handled it, I was better off because of it. And so I can say now that I'm a whole lot less afraid of things, or if I'm afraid of them, I'm not afraid of them for long. So just learning how to deal with those head on. The
sooner you address those things and get an outcome, the you can put it behind you, good, bad, or indifferent. I found that to be very helpful, and I think exercising in the morning helps for me to lend the perspective that I need. That I used to have a coach that would tell me, Rick, you're not as good as you think you are, but you're not as bad as they say you are.
Yes.
And I think working out and those things helps sort of process those things and helps you sort of be more objective about those things that involve you.
And don't you find that when you work out, your best today may not be as good as it was yesterday or may not be as good as tomorrow? So really what you need to do is do your best today, or do your best right now, and understand that your best right now may not be the very best.
Well, that's part of that's part of the discipline, but it's also part of accepting the fact that, a day in the office, you may have a great day and that may be followed by a day that's not so good. I mean, that's anything. And the key is to exercise when you don't want to do it.
Right.
I mean, that's what discipline is.
Right. To set that time and make yourself do it. And that's why it helps for me to see the plan on paper, but it also helps to have accountability partners who will ring you, text you, come to your house and pull you out of bed if needed to get out on the trail or get in the pool or get your bike out. And I find that it helps me be more accountable if I put out up front the excuses. So if I say, well, I can't really bike because I don't know how to change my tire, somebody will
Actually,
say,
that makes two of us. Yeah. I don't know how to change a tire either.
Okay.
A bike tire.
Right. So they can say...
but I can call you, though, if I'm out on the trail and
Absolutely. Or if you say, hey, Christina, I need to run 3 miles tomorrow, text me at 9 a.m. and make sure I've done it already. I'll text you at 5 a.m. to make sure you're up, and I'll text you at 5:30 to make sure your shoes are on. So if you need an accountability partner like that, call me.
Well, I've in knowing you, I don't see accountability as an issue, and that's obviously a great trait to have in what you're doing. Having a ritual, I've heard that. Ritual could be working out. It could be, sort of how you plan your day. All of those things are important in any business to experience and sustain success.
Absolutely.
What are the things that you do every day in your business, and how are you getting your clients?
What do I do in my business every single day? I make a lot of phone calls. I call a lot of people and I ask them what I can do for them. And
how is that received?
Most of the time it's received very well. I think that in this, I'm in the service industry. So really I feel at my best when I feel like I'm being of help to somebody else. And that's not necessarily writing an insurance policy. It could just be something. They need a cup of coffee. They need to bounce an idea off of somebody. So when I start my day, I make a list of 10 people to call and I ask them, what can I help you with today? And it might not be something I can do, but I definitely don't know that unless I ask. And I like to do that because it opens up my mind and it puts a bookmark there so that when I hear that, when I'm out and about, I hear something, I'm like, I make a connection. So that's one of my rituals. It's like I make a list of 10 people to call first thing in the morning and ask them, what can I do for you today?
Yeah, I think connecting with people is really important. I mean, I think we meet a lot of people, but really the differentiating point is, and I've realized this after 19 or 20 years having my company, that it's very important to me to have a connection. Mm-hmm. And it's difficult to get things done effectively if there isn't.
Yes. And I can say in the time that I've known you, you are great at connecting. And you just have a good way about you, Corey.
That really came out well. I was even unsolicited. Did you see that?
Well, it's true. It's absolutely true. I mean, when I meet people for the first time, like I said, I said it earlier, love people or meet people where they are. And I think I also said that I genuinely like people. I almost even like them more, I think, when they're not like me. Because, there's some reason that we're all on the same planet together. There's some reason why we have run into each other's paths. There's a reason that we met. And I look for that reason. And it might be something that I can help you with, or it might be something you can help me with, or we might have some future mission together. We just don't know it yet.
Well, I think it's important. You come off as being very unselfish. I think that's an excellent trait as a business owner, and certainly as somebody that's in a service industry, to think of others first. What kind of client is an ideal client for you?
An ideal client for me is someone who wants to take the time to understand, what we're doing. So if you're buying a home or if you're buying a car, you need to understand about excess coverage, excess liability coverage.
It doesn't seem like people really understand that and have implemented that. Tell us why you think that's important.
I think that for a lot of people, they feel like they know they have to have insurance, either to drive the car or to have a house. They know they need to have it because someone told them they need to have it, but they don't really understand why they need to have it or how it protects them. And, we just get wrapped up in getting things done. Everybody's busy. Everybody's got something to do, and they just want to get it done. They want to get it done on time. And that's fine. I'm absolutely good with plugging into doing that. But I want to have a conversation, just say, hey, okay, I've got to write this policy for you. This is what we're going to do because it needs to get done. We need to sit and talk about what this is so that you know how you're covered. So an ideal client for me is somebody who wants to take that time. It doesn't have to be a long time. It certainly doesn't have to be a long, drawn-out process, but just someone who's willing to listen, to understand, and to ask questions. I love clients who ask questions because I know they're listening. I know they're paying attention when they're asking questions.
Well, it makes your job easier.
Yes.
They're going to ask questions, and then I think it's advantageous for the two of you if you can see the light come on with the client, knowing that they understand what, knowing that they're, picking up what you're putting down.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I do with all of my clients is I walk them through the process. So regardless of where that customer came from, we're going to get what they need to get done, and we're going to get it done on time. And I'm going to tell them, I said, here, we're going to do this, and this is why I'm doing it. And I said, once this is done and you go do step 2 or step 3, you may or may not remember everything I told you. So here's my phone number. Here's my contact information. When you have that question or when that scenario comes up, I want you to call me and make sure that you understand. Because there's a lot of information all the time, and people need to be reminded or they need to be checked. So I make sure that they understand, listen, when this comes up, because it will, or when you have a question about that, make sure you call me. I want them to be very, very comfortable that they reach out to do that. And then, I'll say, I'll call you after, I'll call you next month to make sure everything went as I thought it should. And I ask for permission to call them, to contact them. But I absolutely make them aware that they should call or they should check in.
So it seems like education is a very, very important part of your process. Is that a fair assessment?
Absolutely. People don't know what they don't know. So if they can't ask the right questions, they don't necessarily understand. They might not have been exposed to it. So, when we sit down, I say, hey, tell me what you know. And if you don't know anything, that's okay. And even when they say, oh, yeah, I've bought 12 houses before I know all about homeowners insurance policy. Okay, great. Let's talk that through for a second, just to make sure that what they know and what I know is indeed the same. We're on the same page. And then we go from there. And then it's a conversation.
Well, people that are educated, I think, make better decisions, and I think maybe are better long-term clients, better long-term care fits, because then everything is sort of out on the table. There's no rushing, and you're able to really spend the time with them that you need to in order to do what's best for them.
Right. And understand that sometimes people's needs change, or what they thought, or maybe even what I thought they needed was not exactly accurate. And the only way to get that out on the table is to talk, to have a conversation. Tell me what you want to know more information about. Because if I don't know it, I will find out for you, and I will put you in touch with those people. Because, informed consumers are happier, they're more comfortable, and, not only are they better, they're better clients, they're just in a good spot. They need to know. They need to know that, the choices that they make and how it'll impact them later on. They need to know that. And so education, absolutely.
What is the most challenging thing about what you do?
Trying to get people to understand that value is not always cheap, honestly. I'm a broker, so I'm going to find the best policy for the best coverage for you, all for the best price all the time.
Why is being a broker in your business relevant?
Because I'm not beholden to any one company. I truly am acting on the best interests of both the consumer and the carrier. Not everybody is a great fit for a carrier. Not every carrier can provide the best coverage for the customer. So essentially, I'm looking out for everyone involved. I have no ties to any one company. That's the biggest advantage of working with a broker.
So it seems like it would be fair to say that you're a conduit between the client and whatever carrier best meets their needs, and you don't really have any sort of preconceived ideas about where the business may go. Every carrier is probably a little bit different about what they're comfortable with, and you're able to connect the client to the right insurance carrier. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. I spend a lot of time talking to carriers, both the underwriters and the product managers, and helping them understand what's going on in our particular community, but also to understand where they're competitive, what they're looking for right now, what services they've got coming down the pipeline that might be a good fit for a customer. So it's just an exchange of ideas and products and services. And I think that when you've got that kind of competition and you've got somebody looking out for you, you'll always have the best of both worlds for both the carrier and the end user.
What do you like best about what you do?
Honestly, talking to people.
Gee, I never would have picked up on that.
Yeah, I know, it's shocking, right? I genuinely like helping people. I'm in sales. I've been in sales for a really long time, and insurance happens to be the vehicle in which I help people right now. But honestly, at the end of the day, I know it sounds a little heavy-handed to say, but you want somebody like me looking out for you because I do genuinely care. Not to say that nobody else cares. I'm just saying that, I treat everybody like they're my best friend or, my next-door neighbor or somebody in my family. That way I can always feel good that I know that I did the best I could. But really, it's helping people understand what they don't know because I didn't know a whole lot of insurance before I came into the business.
Did that matter?
In hindsight, no, because I ramped up quickly. It might have even worked to my advantage because I didn't have any preconceived notions. So I understood what it was supposed to do, and so now I can move forward with that's what it's going to do.
Well, I think that's advantageous. To me, all of the time that you spent in customer service, to me, lends itself to being a great factor in how you go about your day. Certainly having the business experience, having worked for someone else, having the experience there and having made mistakes on someone else's dime before you got to yours
Right.
is advantageous. But really how you are with people, I get loud and clear that you really care about people, you're unselfish, and I think you genuinely like people. All those things in the service industry add up to being very good at what you do.
Thank you. And I do have it. It's funny, at my desk, I have hanging on the wall opposite of me is actually an apron, and it's a branded apron. It says Brightway, the Fitzpatrick Agency, and we use it when we go to events. But really, I keep it there to remind myself that I'm in the service industry. So you're not. When a customer comes in or somebody refers somebody to me, they're not doing me a favor. I mean, I'm not doing them a favor. They're doing, I have the opportunity to help and serve. And so, whatever I'm doing, whether it's insurance or if I'm, hanging out with the kids or helping somebody coach their team or pitching in for a service project or setting up a cocktail party, I'm here to help. That's, I wake up every morning and say, what good can I do today? I know that sounds kind of Pollyanna-ish, but it's true. It's like, okay, what good things?
Actually, I don't think it does. I think a lot of people that are out on their own, that's one of the first things. That may be one of the first things they think about is, hey, how can I get better today? Mm-hmm. I think if you're getting better in your business, I think you're probably helping more people.
Right. So, So I think that's the biggest part for me, is to just be able to get up every day and say, what do I get to do today? It's not what do I have to do today? It's like, what do I get to do today?
And that's a differentiator too, because obviously there are things you have to do every day. But I think if you frame it in your head as, hey, what do I get to do today? I think it helps establish that gratitude early on, and helps you to get through the day and be more effective.
Right. And I'm a lists person. So I get up every morning and I tell myself 3 things that I'm grateful for every day. And then I review my list of the 10
What were you
people in the
grateful
code.
for today?
I was grateful this morning for beautiful weather. I don't know if anybody else noticed it out there. It was like 73 with a nice little breeze going on. It wasn't
No
too
humidity.
hot. No humidity.
No rain.
Absolutely. I was, I was grateful that I woke up and I felt good.
Yeah, waking up
healthy.
beats the alternative.
Yes. I always laugh when people say, oh, I'm getting older every year. And I said, what's the alternative? Getting older is better than the alternative.
Well, and I think getting old now doesn't have to be the way it was 20, 30, 40 years ago. I think with all of the information out about nutrition and hydration, working out, everybody is in a position to live their best life.
Absolutely. I mean, nutrition and rest, hydration. One of the things that I had to get used to, being a business owner is I have to send myself to bed early. So I can get up early and
And
be
what time is that?
9:30. That's early-ish.
No, actually, I am in touch with that emotion.
Okay.
And it's funny how early on, back when I was a rug rat some time ago, when I used to sort of discuss with my parents, which really entailed them saying, you will be home by 11. And I would always try to shine them into, come on, Mom, 11:30. Nope. 11:45. Nope. 11. You can stay out as long as you like, as long as you're home by 11.
Right.
And now it's kind of a luxury to say, gee, can we, say to my wife, hey, can we go home? Oh, yeah, I totally want to go home. And it'll be 9:15. And people are looking at us like, what's wrong with you people?
Yeah.
But it's funny how that changes over time, sort of going to bed early as opposed to staying out late.
Yeah. No, I welcome a night in. Whenever I can get it, and I just find that when I'm well rested, if I go to bed early, I'm well rested in the morning, makes getting out the door to exercise.
Well, you perform
easier.
better.
Absolutely, I perform way better when I have sleep and rest.
What charities do you feel strongly about?
Well, when I got here to Atlanta 18 months ago, I really didn't know where to plug in. But one of my I'm passionate about a couple things. I'm passionate about helping the underserved, the homeless. I'm passionate about helping veterans. But mostly right now, I'm passionate about kids. I think that, when you invest the time and energy into the kids, it makes for better adults. It makes for, just a better society in general. So I feel like, okay, let's grab them when they're young and let's teach them how to do some of these things. So right now, I'm working with the Marietta Police Athletic League, the PAL program.
What's that?
It is the Police Athletic League is actually is a nationwide. It's all over the country, but Marietta PAL is it's an after school program. It's a summer camp that serves the kids in Marietta city schools. They do boxing programs and cheerleading and track, and all these programs are coached by volunteer police officers and teachers. So
yeah, another way those two folks give back.
Yeah. And what really drew me to it was was at a Marietta Business Association lunch in 2017, and they were recognizing all the different programs in the city. And Marietta PAL came up, and they had a 5K coming up, and so being a runner and liking the kids and having them run was something that I could really get involved with. And that was something I could plug into. I felt like I could contribute. Didn't matter how many people I I knew or didn't know at that point. It was just something that we could do to plug in. And I was really blown away by the dedication of the coaches and the staff to really, their involvement with the kids is awesome. And you have to start somewhere.
It's interesting. I look back on, my growing up and playing organized sports, and I look back. My sister and I speak about this, repeatedly, and think about the 3 or 4 people that have impacted your life. And in my case, they were teachers that happen to be coaches, and the people that you mentioned the word dedication. And I think that athletics, organized athletics, really is a great vehicle to develop. And I think if somebody is coachable early on, I think that lends itself to being coachable later on.
Yes, absolutely. And being coachable is one of the things that I think is so important. And I didn't really understand the importance of being coachable until maybe a year or 2 ago, really,
What made you, what led you to that?
Well, it's a couple things, actually. I'd never had any formal training running. I literally just got up one day, put my shoes on, and started running. So I didn't run track. I've never had a I've never had a running coach and all those other things. And it coincided, I started that 15 years ago. And so I found that when I had people who could help me, who would share their experiences of track or running, or their running coaches and stuff, when I employed some of those things, my running did actually get better. So that was the difference, being able to listen, but also take on what was being advised. And then coincidentally, my son started playing t-ball right around the same time. And, you got to hand it to the people who volunteer their time to coach little kids, because you get 8 or 10, 5 or 6 year olds together, whether it's with a bat or a soccer ball or a football or a basketball. It's a little bit chaotic, and you find out quickly who the coachable kids are and who aren't. And I think that the number one lesson that people should teach is make sure your kid's coachable.
Yeah.
And if you didn't have the benefit of being able to do organized sports as a kid, when you go into the workplace or when you go into something new, hey, make sure your kid's coachable. And even today, when I assess what I'm doing or I'm about to take on something new, I have to remind myself, make sure you're coachable. Even if you know your stuff, even though you've done it 1,000 times before, I've got to leave a door open to make sure that I'm coachable, because I certainly don't know everything. And you can't possibly learn or grow if you're not willing to be coachable.
Well, I think a lot of that, don't you think a lot of that starts at home?
Yes.
With the parents and the siblings. And I think if you have enough experience competing, it lends itself to not taking things that happen on a day-to-day basis personally.
Yes. I'm seeing that now with school sports and such now, or even, science fairs and things like that. It's like, you're not going to win them all, and it's okay. And in fact, you don't want them to win it all, because if that's all they know, then there's no room for growth there.
I think if someone is coachable, then I think it's really a question of it's interesting. I watch how people say, "Do you have the will to win?" Well, everybody I know has the will to win, but what separates people is if they have the will to prepare.
Right.
And a lot of people are not willing to do that, and whatever that involves. And you look at, like, I love the NFL. You look at how Walter Payton prepared. Mm-hmm. You look at how Jerry Rice prepared. And those guys did all their weightlifting and their training, and they came to camp in shape in a time when a lot of guys used camp to get in shape.
Right.
And so that's one of the reasons that, in my opinion, why they were so successful is it's what they did when people weren't looking.
Right. I agree with that. I was going to add Phillip Rivers in there, but only because I'm a Charger fan. But watching these people get ready to play and compete, Tom Brady, that's another one. Watching the film and doing the things that they don't have to do because they've earned the right not to have to do it anymore, but they do it every day. They show up to camp every day.
I think Tom Brady would say, I haven't earned anything. Yeah. I want to earn it every day.
Right.
And I think that I'm a big fan of his for obvious reasons, but also because I think he was the 199th player taken in the 99 or 2000 NFL draft, and there was 5 or 6 quarterbacks taken ahead of him. And in fact, there was something on ESPN, I think they call it the Brady Six, and it talks about the lives of those 6 quarterbacks that were taken before him. And he's 41 or 42 years old, still playing at an extremely high level, but he really works hard. He works hard,
and his dedication hasn't wavered, and his passion hasn't wavered. And he brings it every day, and that's really what it takes. Even when you don't feel like it, you got to bring it every day.
And I think he is also very unselfish. I think that he could command more money. It would be difficult for me to pay an NFL player more than him. But he says, hey, if I take less money, I can get better players around me.
Right.
And I think he may be unique in that, in that assertion.
Yes, you're right. I never really thought about it from the unselfish standpoint. I've always been really focused on his passion and his dedication and the work that he puts in. But you're right. He is unselfish because he knows that, he can't protect himself on the line if he doesn't have good players around him.
Well, and I think he's worked incredibly hard, but love talking about the sports references, and I think that there is crossover, preparing, the discipline, the basic blocking and tackling, the basic things you have to do every day. You mentioned calling 10 people, but I think having sort of a servant's mentality, which I picked up that you have, I think that's advantageous. Being neutral in how you help people, I think, is a differentiator. You've been selected to be on the show because of your expertise, but also because you're different. What do you think sets you apart from the next person that does what you do?
Well, I know a lot of people who are doing what I'm doing, and I've had the privilege of meeting other insurance agents and brokers and things. And, honestly, I don't know that I'm really different. I think most of us come with the idea that we're going to help somebody today, or we're going to provide a service. I think what really makes me different, not just in this, but in general, honestly, has been my mindset. I get up every day, and I know I've said this earlier, but it bears, it's worth repeating. I get up every morning and every moment, even in the tough times, I say, I get to do this. And it could be something as mundane as I get to, pick my kid up off the bus at 3:00 every day, but I get to. And if you stop in just that moment and recognize that, gosh, I wonder how many other parents would like the opportunity to do that, but they can't for whatever reason it is. And, you take that with everything you do. So, I've got a couple tough things on my desk right now, and I could easily just say, I really don't know if I can do this today, but I don't think that way. I think I get to do this today. I get to take this on today. I get to make phone calls to find out how to get this done today, and I have to do it quickly, because if I can't do it, I have to make that phone call to say, hey, we might be better served, doing it somewhere else. So I would say really it's, my mindset, I get to do it every day. And frankly, I love being where I'm at, wherever that is, whether it's here in Atlanta or in San Diego. I just enjoy being where I'm at, doing what I'm doing.
Well, I think also what I would add to that is that you're very much about serving others. In my experience with you, you really like people. Your customer service experience comes through loud and clear. I think the fact that you're grateful for the opportunity to do this, as you have said, and hey, I get to do this. That's a much different position than hey, I have to do that, and I get that loud and clear with you. If you could give the younger version of Christina some advice, what would that be?
I would say to younger Christina, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Even if you fail and fall on your face, at least you're falling forward. That would be the first thing. And then the other thing I would tell young Christina is progress over perfection. So to fight my OCD tendencies to make sure everything looks perfect, I would just say progress over progression, and progress over perfection.
Incremental improvement.
Incremental improvement. And, just this morning I was talking to somebody. I said, listen, if you want to move mountains, you got to move stones every day. Got to move a stone every day, and that would be it.
Did you get better today?
Yes. Yes. And, I know I get better just by, being with people who are better than me. If I'm the smartest person in the room, I am in the wrong room. So, that's definitely something that makes me different. I want to be in the room where I'm not the smartest person in the room.
If there was a young lady that wanted to follow your arc, your career track, what would you tell her?
I would tell her, figure out who you are and go find your people. So, in our business and in any of our businesses, we need to know people. We need to meet people on a regular basis. We need to meet new people. We need to get to know them. And all of that's fantastic. And what I would say is figure out who you are and then go find people like you. And then that way you can do great things together.
Well, Christina, congratulations on all your successes. I think that you've done a great job of applying what you've learned and carrying it over into your business, and certainly continued success. You've been a great guest for the show. If the listenership wanted to get a hold of you, how would they do it?
They should call my office. My phone number is 770. I'm sorry, I just went blank. 770-863-8463 is my direct line. They can do that, or they can look us up on the internet, Brightway, the Fitzpatrick Agency.
Or is there an email address or
yes.
a website?
Yes, my email address, if you want to get a hold of me, my email address is christina.rudes@brightway.com.
Well, Christina, thank you again for being part of the show. You've been a great guest and continued success. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Well, Corey, thank you so much for inviting me. And Sanjay, thank you for, doing all the sound check stuff.
Of course.
But I really, really appreciate being a guest on your show.
Thanks so much.
And that wraps up another episode of Tuesdays with Corey with your host, Corey Rick. This show is brought to you by our great friends at the Long-Term Care Planning Group. Thank you, Christina, again for joining us today in the station, and that'll be it.